And this I say, whether you ever go to Israel or not, a blessing to be if you go. But here it is, verse 29. Jesus saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen, and yet have believed. So whether you ever get to Israel or not, you, as a child of God, already a believer, you've got something to hold on to that the world can't take away from you. Amen. The world didn't give it to you, the world can't take it away from you. All right, so in Israel, the things that we saw, we're going to take away this thing with it. The things that Jesus saw, the places that He walked and traveled, the people that He experienced, those things, same things the disciples did, and our pilgrim group did the same thing. We saw, we walked, we experienced people, land, food. All of those things were extremely special, I think, and they mean a lot to me. And being able to have this special time of the hand-picked group by God to be in this pilgrimage means a great deal to me as well. And I tried to teach him a song, and think about this, that's in Hebrew, and all these southern dialects, trying to pronounce those words. There's just 3 words in this, in English, the way we pronounce them, 3 words in this song. It's a short song. Some people might call it a ditty. It's not really a long song. But it's Hevanu Shalom Aleichem. Alright? Hevanu Shalom Aleichem. Yeah, you're on the Hevanu Shalom, everybody. Aleichem. And that's how they do it. A little bit shorter, but that's the same thing. All right, sing it with me. There you go. Thank you. I did a solo, it looked like. All right. Without any further ado, whatever that is, anybody ever think about what an ado is? This. Any furtherance of anything that's not special? Go ahead and hit the lights, Luke. Who wants to be first? You gonna stand up here? Now, if you're not in the mic, they can't hear you. I'm going to encourage you to get in the mic, okay? Can you see what you got pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'm so thankful that Jesus lives in me enough that I would have the desire to go to Israel. It was a very good trip. There was laughter. There were many tears shed. And there was fun. But there was so much peace also. And it first started out here at the church when we were making pies. And the group that we made the pies with, us ladies grew so much closer together. The relationship that we built, that we were making the pies here, wasn't a mistake. It was the Lord putting us together to make the pies. And the River of Jordan was a good place for me. It was a happy place for me to get to be baptized at the River of Jordan. But I didn't get any of those pictures because I was one of the ones that was being baptized. Okay, my first picture is the first picture that I took. That was the first picture of the beauty that I took when we got to Israel. And my second picture, I just want to say thank you to Rick and Debbie for planning this trip so that we could be able to go. And the first place we went was to the Sea of Galilee. And that was the Fisherman's Sea. And you can see that fisherman, it's kind of hazy that morning, but he was way out there in the boat fishing. And that was the boat. That was the old boat. And then there was this place in Bethlehem. That's where Jesus was born, the Star of Bethlehem. And that was a very special place for me. Then he was born, and he was laid in a manger, and that was his manger. He didn't have a wooden manger. There wasn't a whole lot of wood in Israel. Everywhere was rocks. The whole town was built out of rocks. And there's the tree. They kept the tree up all the time. And that was just one of the beauties that I thought was awful pretty, and it was tucked in Bethlehem. That's another one. And that was the peaceful place of the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus started his ministry. I did make quite a few of the scenery there. You can see the sea back behind there is very hazy, but never in my life have I ever felt so much peace.
Amen.
I felt like I had no worries at all. I didn't even think about, all of the crime and everything that was going on around home. It was just so peaceful. And there's another one, where all of the miracles that he did on the Sea of Galilee, turning the water into wine, catching the fish, calming the storm, feeding 1,000, walking on the water, and healing of many people. And then we took that boat ride. And that was one of the laughters there. We had a wedding, per se. I don't think it was a wedding because I see 2 hats on, and I don't think they did hats for a wedding. But we just had the laughter of being able to send that home, to get a laughter of everybody at home. And then we got back to our dining area. If you read at the top, it says reception. And then there's the little couple sitting at the sitting down. But I just want to thank those 2 wonderful young Christians. They were very responsible, very sweet, very helpful to all of us old people. They took good care of us. And that's the Church of All Nations. And at the Church of All Nations, you'll find the rock where Jesus prayed in agony, knowing that he was going to be crucified. There was many people who prayed at that rock, and I was so thankful that I got to bow my knees and pray at that rock.
Amen.
And that was the steps that Jesus walked. And that was one of our messages we had. And I want to say that was overlooking the Garden of Gethsemane. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was at one of the churches, and I have it wrote down, but I can't pronounce it real well.
Galiantu. That's the place where Jesus wept coming off the Mount of Olives.
But we had our service at the Catholic Church, and it was Dominique's church, and it was where the thorn tree was. And this was a place that was very heart-wrenching to see all of the big thorns, you know, that they put in Jesus' head. And there at that church, on the inside of the church, you could look out, and the Tomb of the Rock, if you'll see it, the little gold looking in the very bottom corner there, you could see that Tomb of the Rock from many, many places. The Dome of the Rock from many, many places. See, that was the Wailing Wall. And then I felt a very privilege to be able to kneel and pray there and leave a lot of my heartaches there.
Very much.
And that right there is a close-up picture, but I think it's a very beautiful picture. And then we go to a very heart-wrenching place. That was the hole where they lured Jesus down in the dungeon, where he knew he was going to be crucified. There was not a dry eye in that pit. I mean, you could just feel it. You could just feel the hurt in your heart.
Yeah, amen.
You know, that you would have for him. And I thought that was a very pretty picture of Jesus. That was in the church, you know, where that they had, you know, all kinds of, and this right here was where they walked down to the tomb. And that was the tomb where they laid him after they crucified him. And then to know he's not there anymore. That's the rock they picked him on.
Amen.
But he's risen now.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
And then there's our communion. There wasn't a dry eye there either.
That's right.
But we got to express all of the things that we were thankful for. And one of the most things that I'm thankful for is, you know, he didn't give up on me.
Yeah, amen.
Because a few years ago, there'd been no doubt in my mind a while ago.
Sure, bless your heart.
But I don't have to go now.
Amen.
Because he loves me enough that he died for me.
Amen.
And I love him too.
Thank you, Lord.
And that faith, that's the mustard tree there. We think the mustard seed, you know, grows out in the field, but that's the mustard tree. There's the mustard seed. Just having the faith of the mustard seed. And that's a picture of Jerusalem. You can see how congested it was. Those houses, they built one floor and it's one house. They built another floor and it's another house. And it's all made out of rock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just some of the artwork that, you know, caught my eye in the different places that we were over there. It was just beautiful. And to me, that represents love right there. I feel like sometimes that's me and Jesus sitting out on the window.
Sure.
Always close by my side.
Amen. You're right.
And he'll always be by my side. until he comes back to get me. And I just love him.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
Good job.
Thanks, sis.
Do not take pictures and walk at the same time. That's how I felt in the whole. I don't have any pictures. I do have pictures, and I have this book that I would love for people to take home and look at and read. It's a great book on the Holy Land. And I have my pictures, but I wasn't able to get anywhere to put them on a CD or anything. So you're welcome to look at my pictures also. We visited many amazing places in Israel. And I'm going to tell you, each one of them had its important place, important things that we saw and heard. And I want to tell you of a couple of places that was special to me. The Garden Tomb. It was so peaceful and beautiful there. And we all shared communion. And like Libby said, we shared what we were thankful for with each other. And it was just, I can't even explain how wonderful that was. You could feel God's presence in Israel. It was very moving, knowing that Christ had died for me and seeing the places
Amen.
that most of us only read about in the Bible. And where he would rest, and where he was not there, he was risen.
Yeah.
It's a memory and experience that I'll never forget. I'm so grateful to have the experience for myself and for my church family.
Amen.
And another place that I did not get to go, I didn't go in the Dead Sea, but I know you all saw the pictures of Carol and Pastor Rick and Eli, all in the Dead Sea floating. It was a sight to see, I'll tell you, to watch all these people floating around out there. But I did learn that it's the lowest place on earth, and it's the water's 7 times saltier than the ocean.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was amazing. My favorite place, I love the Holy Land, but my favorite place was the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
We saw it was, our hotel was right there. The first hotel we was at, you could look out and see the Sea of Galilee. And we walked around and looked for seashells and things like that. And it was an amazing experience. We stayed, and then days later we got to go out on the boat. And the one thing that impressed me the most about the Sea of Galilee is that it's the actual location.
Yeah.
There are several places in the Holy Land that could not be, you know. But we know the Sea of Galilee is the one location that is actually there. As Jesus and his disciples were there years ago, and it was so amazing. And it's hard to explain the feeling. At times I was not prepared for the emotions that filled my heart.
Amen.
It's an experience, a spiritual experience that's changed me forever.
Yeah.
And I want to read Psalms 125:2. As the mountains are round about Jerusalem, so the Lord is round about the people, from henceforth, even forever.
Amen.
And I want to thank Rick and Debbie too for making our.
But the most moving was the communion we had. Because it meant a lot to me to share it with them.
old friends and new friends that I've made. And I enjoyed the baptism at the Sea of Galilee. And I just thank God for providing me a way to go.
Amen.
First of all, I'd just like to say I'm blessed to be able to go, and I just thank everybody for allowing me and this church to go. And this is just a sign of the trip, really. It just started off, and it just a peaceful trip. You know, everybody said it, that it was a peaceful trip. And this picture right here is probably one of the prettiest sights that we've seen. Around the computer again. But the Dome of the Rock was definitely one of the prettiest sights there was. And then this third picture here was, that was probably the most moving part for me, was, standing down there in the dungeon where he was, and, the hole that Reba showed us, that, he was lowered down. And it was just a humbling experience. And, that, like they all said, there wasn't a dry eye in the place, and it was you just thought, and it was just, like Brother Rick said many times, it's just in your head forever. And every time you read Psalms 88, where he read from, you'll always remember that. And it's just a picture now, not just a word. And one of the places I was most excited to see was the Valley of Megiddo, and that's some of it right there. And that touched me too, because it's a big place, and that's just where that's where it's all going to happen. And they say where the blood runs up the horse's bridle, and you can actually see where that'll be. And it's just a touching place. And it really, if anybody's not saved, that would be a picture you could show them that would not that would allow them to maybe see more than they would otherwise. And you've always got to have a little fun on the trip. And Carol, before she left, told me that she wanted to ride a camel. I had no desire whatsoever. But they've done it in pairs, and so Connie and Miss Fruit went on the camel first, and then Callie and Bobby. And then I kind of had to. Now I'll tell you one thing though, that would be the last time I ride. And just like Ann and Connie was saying, and Reba, all three, the Sea of Galilee was probably the most peaceful, part of the just peaceful. You didn't, Marjorie said before we left, whenever you step off the plane and get in the airport, it's just a completely different feel. And the Sea of Galilee is one of those places where you could actually, feel it. And we got up and early in the morning and went out there before we had breakfast, and that was just a good place to just sit and just think on the things you've seen in the first morning, just excitement and anticipation of what you would see. And this next picture is just friends that were made, and Phyllis and Lucy come, and they were just a blessing in my heart.
Yeah, amen.
Rebecca, Bobby, Ray were just a blessing too. They always went somewhere together. Yeah, and that was just, no matter where they went, they never split up. Yeah. And it was just a blessing in my heart to see.
Yeah, amen.
And then the food, I guess everybody, I picked out, all the stuff that I didn't like. Then they put the French fries inside the shawarma. That's called a schnitzel, is what that's called. It's basically fried chicken, so that's what I ate whenever I got a chance. And, I picked out, they put French fries in the pita bread, and that wasn't the greatest thing. But they had Sprite, and they had Coke Zero. It was just, the food wasn't, the best. But, when you get fried chicken, it's all pretty good. And that's called the shawarma. That was probably the worst thing we had on. And then just a picture to kind of sum everything up is just a great group, great tour guide, great bus driver, and I couldn't be more thankful to be able to go.
Yeah.
And just everything that we saw, and I go back and repeat it.
Yeah, amen. Thank you, Lord.
And then finally, just like everybody else, I just really like to thank Rick and Deb for all they've done and getting the trip together, and just allowing me to go, because a year ago they didn't probably know who I was. And, that was it was just a blessing for them to take me under and let me go. and see all those things that I probably wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. And I just thank the Lord for letting me know.
Love being able to have you. Amen.
Okay, so I'm like Eli and the rest of the people who've been talking. I'm thankful for each person who went, and I didn't know Lucy was related to me until I got over there. And I'm glad she's not here because I wouldn't claim her. She would. Phyllis too. I was kind of worried because they were kind of loud here in our meetings, and I was like, oh no, what am I doing? But it was okay. He was okay. And I'm thankful for Connie being a great roommate. She was there. We watched some pretty good cartoons at night. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised that I understood a little bit of it. Okay, Rita. My fingers hurt me already. It's okay. And Connie in the back. That accurately describes what I wanted to do the whole time. I wanted to take a nap, but Eli would not let me. And also Rick would not let me because they're like, look out the window. I don't want to look out the window, I want to take a nap, but that's okay. Okay, so right here, I believe Debbie's going to touch on this, but, that's an olive, and you think, what's going to come out of an olive? Well, you think olive oil. It actually looks like blood, and I think that very well represents our trip, because it's something new that you learn that you wouldn't have known unless you went over there, because you would have thought, olive, well, that's olive. But no, Rick had to get his hands a little bit dirty. I guess Papa's been teaching him a little bit. And so I'm thankful. And then this is one that really touched me. It's called Engedi. It's the oasis that's spoken about in 1 Samuel 24. And it's where, David and Saul, they were going into David was gone and he went into these caves that you can see on the top of the picture. And there was, in the middle of all these caves and in the desert, there was this waterfall, and that was the oasis. And then right here is the temple steps that they know for sure that Jesus took. In Luke 2, it talks about this. So Jesus took these steps quite a bit in his life. And so seeing those was special, because even though we didn't get to walk up on them, you get to see that there's a mosque behind it, that Jesus walked in front of it. So you know that Jesus was in front, and he was right there where you are, and that touched me too. And this one is the pinnacle that's talked about, that Jesus was tempted out for the third time in Matthew 4:8-10. And the devil told Jesus to cast himself down and that his angels will catch him, but, Jesus didn't resist that temptation. And I think that's one thing that we all learned over there, is that we shouldn't learn and we should lean on God, and we shouldn't learn from the devil. We shouldn't go into temptation. And like Reba said, that is a manger, like Jesus would have been born in. In the picture also is Potomac Hill, which is our tour guide. Okay, this is the Last Supper room commemorated, and I didn't know that they didn't know where this was at. And so you walk into this big room in Byzantine architecture, which is not the time of Jesus. And, you think, wow, this is where it's at. And then Rick goes, nope. Okay, this is the garden tomb, and you see how small that door is, but you think of that great rock that was rolled in front of it. And I kind of just pictured it the whole time, like, whether or not that was the place, you get all these feelings. And whenever you look down and you see it, and we had communion there, and like Rick said, he figured everyone would touch on it, because there wasn't a guy, and everyone testified, and it wasn't like, okay, it's your turn. Everyone said it from their heart, and you can tell it from their heart. And in my Mama's scrapbook, whenever she went, there was this picture that looked just like this, and I thought, that's one thing I want to see. I want to see something my Mama saw, because I didn't get to share it with her. But she was with me all the way, because I know the Lord put her right here, so I pray for her every day, and I'm going to talk about her again in the next picture. But on the picture before that, it says, he's not here, for he's risen. And I remembered that our church here has a sign in the back that says, he has risen. And I thought, that, Rick leads us here at Bethel-Grace, and I thought, in Israel, we're in Lent, and it don't matter where we are, Jesus is with us.
Amen.
And then Here, Mabel, this picture is dedicated to you. If you can see the Pepsi bottle in the middle, I know whenever you were in Israel, you were looking for a Pepsi and didn't find one, but I found one. Okay.
Okay, I have some of the same pictures, so I won't elaborate on a lot of them, but the beauty by the Sea of Galilee always takes my breath away. The flowers, I'm a flower person, so I have several pictures of the beautiful flowers that are already blooming over there. Those were some geraniums that were down there growing by the Sea of Galilee. That's our first morning there. That is so special to me. When I look out and I see that, I think, how quickly a storm can come, and that's just like our life, that how quickly things can change. And I felt like I've been through some storms, and I can almost see him walking through the fog, just like he did with Peter on that day. And it was just like, I'll lift you up. And the Sea of Galilee, there's so many stories about the Sea of Galilee in the Bible, but they all come to life when you look at those pictures.
Yeah.
Another one. And that was in the back of the city of Capernaum, and that was still the Sea of Galilee. And I took several pictures there that were absolutely the flowers and the plants. It was just peaceful. I went back there, and there was an aloe, and it must be almost 6 foot tall. The picture don't do it justice, but it was just amazing, all the beautiful things there. Yeah, that was right by the seashore there. And this was in Capernaum, and he was talking about Peter there. And he says, upon this rock I will build my church. And Peter's mother-in-law's house was there, and a small village was there. That it's amazing what architecture is finding that the Bible, proving the Bible is real more and more and more. That was our boat one night as we got ready to take sail out on the Sea of Galilee. And I liked it because it was just our little group. And it made us feel really good. They put our flag up and we sang our national anthem. And it's always good when you go somewhere else and you're so proud of being American. And that's part of my heritage too. And everybody stood and we all said the pledge, and it was really nice. And it was getting sunset. We turned off the boat and we had scripture and prayer and song time. So peaceful. And that was at night when we got to the other side. And so pretty. The Bible talks about us being like a city set on a hill that cannot be hid. And at night you can see Jerusalem. It's just that way. It lights up at night. And so you could not miss it because of all the lights. So it's really pretty. As we pull back in on the other side. That was the next morning. I took a lot of pictures of the Sea of Galilee because of the importance I felt. Our tour guide was so excellent. I'll have a picture of him here in a minute, but he was so excellent about showing us and telling us. We had the privilege of having a born-again Jew. And the last 2 times that we went, we did not have that opportunity. And he gave us the Christian side as well as the Jewish side and explained a lot of things to us. And I know one of the fellows on the boat, the bus first morning, I forget who was it that asked, he said, how come we don't eat no pork? And he began to explain about pork being, not clean. And he said, well, you're here in Israel, and how come in the Bible they were talking about the pigs? And he said, well, Jesus traveled. And he said he used the Sea of Galilee to travel a lot. And one side was the Jewish quarter, and the other side was the Gentile quarter. So the pigs were on the Gentile quarter. So a lot of things he explained in the Bible story-wise that you could actually just see them come alive. And he said when Jesus and the disciples got in the boat, they traveled to the other side, which was the Gentile quarter, and that's where the pigs, he showed us the very place where the pigs ran into the Sea of Galilee. It was just amazing, so full of good information. And that was our breakfast there, first morning. That was a view from where we stayed. This was Caiaphas' house. It's already been shown, but I thought the doors were absolutely beautiful. They were all carved out of wood. The feeling that was in that place is, I just can't even explain it. The minute you walk past the doors, a feeling of heaviness comes on your heart to know that that's where they kept him, and to know that's where he spent his hours before he was crucified. It was just heart-wrenching, and it made you feel so small and insignificant, but praise God, he's in heaven. He made a way. So it was just a beautiful service in that place. Again, there's the stairs overlooking, going to go down to the Kidron Valley, which was explained to us that Jesus walked through when he was led from Caiaphas' house up to be crucified. And there is, at Caiaphas' house is where Peter denied Christ. I remember the first time we were there, then they hadn't uncovered, but a rooster had crowed. And that was just amazing to me. We didn't hear a rooster this time, but it was so beautiful how they've done everything, just making it just like the Bible. The artwork was beautiful, all been done on rock by hand. And that was my mustard seed. I hadn't got mustard, and I kept thinking about those mustard seeds. I brought some back to put in a necklace. But I always he said if we had faith, small as a grain of mustard seed, that we could move mountains. And you look how tiny that is. That's not very much. And I just kept thinking about that. If we have faith, what we could do for the Lord. The crown of thorns, that just broke my heart. You can't look at that without it breaking your heart. The thorns on them, some of them were 4 and 5 inches long. And he said, they're not a crown like most people think pictures are drawn. He said they make them like a helmet. So that was really mind-boggling to me, was the helmet. It went all over the head, not just around the head. And of course, Garden of Gethsemane, that's just, it's almost more than your little heart can stand. Thinking about what he did for us and how he prayed. And in the Church of All Nations, where it surrounds the Garden of Gethsemane, each nation who contributed to building the church has their emblem up on the ceiling. And I found the United States of America, and I thought that was so pretty. It's surrounded by olive branches. And there is the old olive trees in the Garden of Gethsemane. They've got them protected because they said they do date back to Jesus' time. Those evidently, if those trees could talk, what they could tell us.
Yeah, they might.
And they are so old, you can tell just by looking at them, but they keep growing. And he said they keep growing. Once part dies, he said another part starts out somewhere else. So you could tell by looking at the whole tree. And there's the outside of the church. Beautiful, beautiful. And I love this part. This is the Eastern Gate, by the way. And, our guide told us, he said, the Jews, he said, they didn't want Jesus, when Jesus said he was coming back again, they said, well, we'll fix him. We'll bury our dead right up to the Eastern Gate. He can't come through the Eastern Gate. And, they were saying Jews do not discriminate, they don't desecrate because they will not walk on a grave. And the graves are really high. And they thought if they built graves right up to the Eastern Gate, that he wouldn't come back that way. They're wrong. But I thought, that is so awesome to look at the Eastern Gate. And I don't know if the next one will be where the Holy of Holies stood. No. Was in the way of the cross, but that's what song kept going through my mind. This was on the Via Dolorosa on the way, in a church on the way walking up to where Jesus was crucified. And there was a lot of beautiful statues. This was the garden tomb, the empty tomb. He's not there, he's risen. I had some of the same ones. Communion was awesome. And this is the, tell me the name of the church again, I forgot. This was the rock where Jesus met them when they were out on the Sea of Galilee. What was the name of the church? McDonald, okay. They have the rocks where Callie's standing in front of. They have done a lot of archaeology. Said that Jesus was no doubt at these rocks, and see the anchors, those stones that are in the ground are heart-shaped anchors where they used to go and pull in their boats and anchor them in those rocks. And he said this was the vicinity, probably the place, he said for sure, that when Jesus cooked fish after the resurrection, he was cooking fish, and the disciples see him on the boat, and he called them to come and eat. So in John 20:1, that was a very, very moving experience as well. Yeah, some of those rocks. He said the black rock is Jesus' time. That was really beautiful. Everything is rock over there. Not very many trees or grass. And I took that. To show you they do have McDonald's. Just because they're in another world, I took a few fun pictures and just wanted to share. This was off our balcony in Jerusalem at night. What a beautiful sight. It just captured my heart. Every night I would go out and I'd just sit there and look out over the city. And how could anything be wrong all over the world? Another sign of Coke. That was in the Garden of Gethsemane, not the Garden of Gethsemane, but the Garden Tomb. And we always need to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. But the Lord, I think, gave us the right tour guide, because he was just loading us every day with Bible and Jewish history. And I kept being amazed every day at how knowledgeable he was. And he said, y'all can pray. I had pictures of the Western Wall on there too, but they're gone too. We prayed at the Western Wall. He said, y'all can pray at the Western Wall you want. He said, but my Lord is risen. And, it was just very informative to hear him say that. But the first day when we got out of the bus at Tiberias, one of the small towns, he said, what do you think will come out of these olives? And he reached up in the olive tree, and of course they were full, and he pulled a handful of olives out, and he said, what do you think will come out? And of course all of us thought oil. And he said, no, look. And drops of, it was bright red, it looked just like blood falling into the ground. And he said, that's called, a lot of people don't realize that, but the first squeezing from the olives is called virgin olive oil. So when you go to the store, that's why it's so much more expensive. But he talked about Jesus being pressed in the Garden of Gethsemane, and just like the olives, and as he prayed, just as great drops of blood fell as he prayed. So a lot of information that didn't load until I got home. Where you're so tired, but I'm so thankful for another opportunity that the Lord gave us to go to Israel, and it's so much of a blessing and so good to be there. And if you ever get a chance to go, my recommendation is go.
I didn't sleep any, but there was some that slept quite a bit. I sleep on tour though. You see everybody sleeping there. So, this is a model, scale model of this, the mountain Masada, where the Jews in 72, 73 AD had their last final battle against Titus and his forces. And so this little scale model gives you an idea of how that was and the way that everything's situated. This little part here, the Romans for 2 years tried to get up on top of that mountain and couldn't do it. So the Romans, they said a little boy could protect Messiah. All you had to do is roll a stone down. Everybody's mentioned stones, and you'd roll a stone down wherever they were coming up. That stone would pick up other stones. It would wipe out an army. So they quit doing that. They built up a siege wall, a ramp, and that went all the way to the top. And so I don't know how long it took them to get up there, but eventually they were able to get up there and come in the next morning. They were almost there, and they went back. It was getting toward dark. The next morning they came up. They tore down the wall that was right that section, came in and found everybody dead. The Jewish people that were on top of the mountain made an agreement together that they would not be servants again to the Romans or to anybody. So everybody on top of there, all the men killed their own families, and then they had one person to kill the rest of the men. We know the story goes like this because the leader of it left a little writing, and there were 2 grandmas and a couple of kids that hid themselves from the slaughter, and they came up and they told what the decision was. This is in Getty, or at least this pot is. I'm walking and I'm stepping down to see where the oasis was that David ran from Saul to hide himself in the caves. And I don't know if it was just a washed out area or what, but this is a clay pot. A clay pot that was buried in the ground there. And someone's mentioned these places where David hid from Saul. This may have been the actual cave. There were a number of caves there, by the way, where that you could get in. And when Saul went in because he got tired and needed to go to the restroom, and David cut off part of his robe there. And that's a rat, or at least it's in the rodent family, and that's as big as a house cat or a little bigger. Again, that's mustard seed. And that's a mustard seed pod. I think somebody mentioned that already. And when you broke that thing open, there were hundreds of little bitty mustard seeds in that thing. And that's where we stayed at the Ambassador Hotel. We had a great meal in the morning as well as in the evening every time. And so many people have taken this. I'll go ahead and mention a little history. This is 1,800 years old, this building. It's been redone a little bit. All of this, if you can see closer, is done in Arabic, and it's in tiles. And there was a time when this had gold plating on it. And it's, I think gold, at this time I think it's gold too, but they took the gold off for different things through the centuries and changed it around. A beautiful building. Don't agree with the building's purpose, but it's a beautiful building. And we get to the place where Jesus walked up on a man and said, "Wilt thou be made whole?" The pools of Bethesda. And these little areas, we're looking down probably 20, 25, 30 feet down, and we see the different places that they've got. And there were, in another picture, an actual little bit of water left in the pool, and it had steps or porches going down to it. And I could just see the man that had never walked 38 years, and Jesus coming up to him, him giving, "I can't get in, nobody will help me." And then Jesus helps him. That's in one of the churches there, what church was that? It's on one of the stations of the cross where Jesus stopped and was mocked and made fun of. It's by the Antonia Fortress, and these are other pictures of it. And I wanted to show you a little bit of the streets of Jerusalem inside the old city. It is narrow, and there are big trucks that go through there, and everybody just kind of steps out of the way and lets them big trucks go by. remind me so much of the time that Jesus was in. They didn't have no big street. They had donkeys and horses and camels walking those narrow roads. And you'll notice that here, this door is closed, but this door here, you can see these little arrows on top of it. This was the entrance, and that was the exit. And we get into Bethlehem. This is the church over top of the caves that Jesus was born in. And I took this picture to show you the restoration and stuff. This is a Roman capital called a Corinthian capital, and it's on top of this thing here. And this one here is a crusader. It's basket weave. And so it's been around for a long, long time. Burnt, destroyed, rebuilt, burnt, destroyed, rebuilt. And there's an original floor in there that goes back to the first time that there was a church there. And it's got a beautiful mosaic underneath it. And we are in the Church of the Sepulchre. And this is the place where they believe that close by here was Calvary for a lot of the Catholic and Roman Catholic and a number of the Orthodox beliefs that they believe that somewhere inside here, as you go in and go down, there's a cave that leads you to the place where they laid the body of Jesus. That's a mural that was on one of the walls that we came to. I thought it was beautiful. You can see this little kid playing here, and the rest of these people are in Jewish first century garb. And then you've got this is actually painted in there, a little boy with a ball cap, and this little girl's doing something. I don't know how many of the rest of them caught that. How many caught that? Let me see it. That's what I thought. Sleep on the bus. During Hezekiah's time and the temple, or the walls of Jerusalem, I took this just to give you an idea how wide the walls were. No way the widest walls in the ancient world, because in Jericho you could have chariot races on the top of their walls. And so this is a pretty good sized wall, and way up here was how tall they were. So these are out of the ground probably about 5 or 6 feet, and then you get way up there and you see how tall they were. The next picture should do that. There it is. Shows you how tall the walls were back in ancient days. So they were pretty impressive. And this is the Zion Gate, and this was the border wall in the 6-day war between Jordan and Israel. And all of these things here are bullet marks where that they fired onto the Jewish people. And just more shots. And you know what these are, right? These are guys inside shooting back. There's a close-up. We're privileged enough to see a young boy being bar mitzvah, becoming 13 years of age and a boy of the law. And he's right here. He's completely dressed in white shirt and kippah. And they had a guy, they sang, they danced and everything, part of their celebration. And there's the rabbi that helped bar mitzvah the little boy. Our first glimpse of the Dome of the Rock and the Western Wall. Our hotel room overlooking during the day, they've had the one at night, this is the day shop. And it's another one of it. Oops. And we had a wedding. I've done a lot of pictures and stories on Facebook. That got some of the meanest responses to my Facebook likes that I ever made. Someone told, "Whoa, Rick Taylor." And I got just the response I was looking for. They didn't know what was going on. They were up there in the front looking, taking pictures and all that stuff. And I said, "Join right hands." Join right hands. And I opened my Bible. They had no clue what was going on. And then they found a place to have a reception. They're trying those real expensive dates, McDowell dates, and they love them. Yeah. This is who the devil's looking for. That's our guide, Fote Mikel. He's got his family's Italian, and he was speaks Hebrew and a bunch of other languages. So between his Italian and Hebrew, he was real hard to understand. But an excellent guide. And this is Hazim, our bus driver, and they were the best. The best. From north to south to east to west and
Central Park.
he would say that all the time. All right, we had a great time, and everybody got to go.